Okay, I wanted to comment on this, react to this. I watched her a few times in the past. I think she's talking about some people I support, some people I don't. So let's just comment on it. Let's go.
Okay, alright, this should be a fun one. Why am I doing this again? Anyways, as you all can tell, because I did not do the normal intro, we are in for a different experience today. I want to talk about alpha males, the manosphere, and what I think they get wrong about dominance and submission. Because I have recently been doing some research into what people find when they are looking for dominance and submission on social media platforms. And on YouTube, it turns out if you look for just like dominance, submission, dominant man, submissive woman, you get pages of results of podcast clips and videos and responses and reactions of people either saying something about like, oh, you should submit to the will of God and a little bit more of a religious thing, or you get people saying essentially alpha males are dominant men and women should submit to alpha males as like a biological imperative. This is how women should be. This is what they should do. This is like their.
This is what annoys me about that whole situation is specifically they'll act like women should do this, as if women are just robots and like that we're just machines. I think what they mean to really say is that they have a specific woman they want. And I'm not saying that they can't find that woman. They can find her, yes. And there will be women for them. But not every woman is for them. And that's what they have to understand. If every woman was for them, then there would not be a one. Now, would it? When you're finding the one, it wouldn't be such a thing because all women would be the one. You know what I'm saying? So that's my only thing with that. I think that there are women that are like that, and maybe they should submit if that's what they want to do. I don't know. Well, I really don't know. I'm not a submissive woman, in any regard. When I think of, partnership with a man, it's partnership at the end of the day. It's not a leadership. It's not a man dominating me in any regard. It's partnership. What? That means we're both the heads of our household, both of us, co-head of household. I just don't think of submitting to a man in any regard. I think we're both grown adults, therefore why would anyone submit to anyone? That's just how I see that. But anyway, continue.
Biological programming and they're fighting it because of feminism. And I obviously.
Oh, and one other thing. To me, it's annoying when people try and say that it's a feminism issue because it's like, personally, for me, I'm a very conservative woman. I'm very conservative, so it's kind of weird, like, when people think that it's about feminism. I'm definitely not a feminist, but that's got nothing to do with my own personal desires in a relationship. I mean, like, if it was really that conservatism makes one submissive, then why is it the men aren't submissive? I'm just saying. I mean, like, if conservatism makes an individual automatically submissive to anyone they're in a relationship with, then we better not get in relationships with conservatives. Because, I mean, like, if I'm conservative and I'm going to be submissive and I'm with a conservative, then they're going to be submissive. How's that even going to work? I mean, just being completely honest, I never get that. Being a feminist, I don't know how that works for them, but as far as me, I'm just like, can't one just naturally be who they are without it having to do with outer forces of other people telling them who to be? Because from my way, how I see it, it seems like from me, like it's actually people from the outside that would tell me to be submissive. Because that's not how I internally work or how I naturally am as a person, But continue.
I don't necessarily agree with that. And I found, I think, the perfect clip to really just sum up a lot of my thoughts about this, and just it gives a really good, clear example of how these conversations normally go. And so I'm gonna play it for you all. We're gonna react to it. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna process what's being said. So before we get into the actual video, I want to talk about who the characters are in this, because just apropos of nothing, this video does include Andrew Tate, who you may know from being very much in the news recently for certain things that may have been crimes that he did. And so he's in this. And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, where have you been on the internet for the last 6 months?
I know who Andrew Tate is, but I don't follow his content that much. Of the stuff I've seen on his content, I would say personally, I don't have anything against what he's put out there on social media. I don't think every man on social media, YouTube, wherever the heck, TikTok, doesn't matter, that he has to be spouting that he wants a woman like I am. Like, I don't think that every man needs to be doing that. I'm not a psychopath or a narcissist. I know that men have their types. I don't care that they have another type. You see what I mean? So if a man wants a type of woman that is specifically submissive, I'm not really giving a darn that that's the case, because that's him. He wants, honestly, I guess maybe that's because I like submissiveness in men. I like sexual submissiveness in men, but not specifically in regular life. I'm not like that. I'm just saying sexually. So I understand that we all have our types. We all have our type of people we want, and we're not supposed to be shaming anybody for another type of woman or another type of man that somebody wants. I do, obviously, within the regular laws, obviously, but I'm talking about grown men and women, so obviously, that precludes anything that is illegal. So to me, I have never had anything against Andrew Tate. I've seen him mentioned on one content creator's channel, and then I actually saw him on an interview, sorta, with Tucker Carlson. I like to watch Tucker Carlson very often, so I don't know. To me, I'm just kind of like, in the middle on him, neutral. There's some things like that have come out that I have thought were really bad that I've covered on my channel, and other things that I don't think are really bad when it comes to things they say are crimes, and some that I don't think are crimes. It depends on what we're talking about. But continue.
Love to know. Can I get tickets? But Andrew Tate I've known about for probably since this past spring or summer, and he has exploded in popularity because of a program he was running. I broke down his whole rise to fame in a live stream he did recently, and there are tons of great videos about him, who he is, what he believes. But for the sake of this video, just know that Andrew Tate is an avowed misogynist who thinks that women are stupid and incapable and can't drive and should stay at home and are hypergamous and can't be trusted and are totally ruled by their emotions.
What about, have you ever dated a girl? No, because men are women.
I don't know if I would consider him misogynist, or I kind of feel like the type of women he deals with shapes his view. So I don't know, and I don't really care about his opinion on that, really. That's his opinion, that's his right. Continue.
Better. Would you ever date a girl? No! Never. Bro.
Oh, sorry, commercial.
No!
That is Andrew Tate in a nutshell as far as those beliefs are concerned. The other members of this podcast setup that we're going to react to, I am not sure who these other women are. As far as I can tell, for podcasts like this, their technique is to find either random women on Instagram, people hanging around in Miami, inviting them on this show, and then getting as many women as possible into one room so they can either agree with the men or fight each other and then look emotional the way that women are supposedly supposed to be emotional and uncontrollable.
Like, just like your bitch, I don't know if she's sucking your dick or some shit, and I she's lit right now.
I never watched this show, so I have nothing to say on that.
Okay.
It seems to serve their biases to pit 10 women against each other in one podcast format. That's not totally what's happening in this video, but it's like, I think part of why this is happening. And also, the main person in this, who is the host, I believe, is someone named Just Pearly Things, who Chad recently did a video about. It's really good. Check it out down below. And Pearly, my girl, if you're watching this, hi, hello. I will not talk about you. I'm sure if you were sent this and your little minions are like, oh my god, look at what this feminist said. She's so stupid. You're going to want to react to this and just, I would appreciate a little thank you in the comment below for the free views and the good AdSense. And, I just hope you're doing well, I guess. I will not say anything bad towards you personally, but I will not be acknowledging you beyond this little bit right here. So let's go ahead and get into watching this and just...
Yeah, I personally don't have anything against Just Pearly Things. I think that she has different desires. That's what I mean. I keep saying this, and I feel like a broken record, but for me personally, it's like they have different desires, just like the same thing with Andrew Tate. They have different wants. They have different wants in a man, different wants in a woman. She can agree with many of the things that the manosphere says in regard to what she wants, because she's one of those women that they're talking about. So she can agree with all that, and that's cool. My thing, I'm actually a subscriber of Just Pearly Things, actually. But the main reason I'm subscribed to her has to do with Roe v. Wade. Because like I said in the beginning, I'm a conservative. I'm very pro-life, and I like some of the things she says on abortion. So for those reasons, I support her channel. So yeah. Other than that, like I said, I don't really have anything against her. And I guess I would say on her, I'm more positive, I guess. Anyway, continue.
Mentally prepare yourselves because it starts out hot.
Say about, let me put for instance, there's an artist that I like. My man likes it too. COVID had just sort of like finished. I got 2 free tickets to go to go. My man said to me, "You're not going." What would you do?
I'm going.
What would you do?
Why am I not going?
It doesn't matter. He said to you, "You're not going."
Because that's just illogical submission.
I
from
know.
him. Why tell me why I can't go?
No, but the whole point is you pick someone that you respect enough to trust his judgment, even when you disagree. That's the whole point.
Okay, there's already like a lot going on here, but let's like break down what happened. I believe what she said, and because this involves so many people, I may not be following along entirely, but I believe what she said is that she got free tickets to an artist that she likes, and her spouse or her man told her she wasn't allowed to go. Now, originally when I saw this, I thought she had said that he got free tickets and just didn't want her to go with him. And this is a very different scenario because now we are talking about a man dictating what another woman does with her possessions, like a thing that she owns. And of course the response to this is, well, if you're truly submitting to him, you would just do whatever he says because you trust him, right? You trust him enough to sleep with him. Why won't you let him dictate what he does with your property? As though these two...
To me, I think he only has control over himself. So what he should be doing is not going, because he doesn't like that, like the tickets to that place. She can get a friend to go with her, or she could sell it, or she can give it to someone on the street, whatever, But I mean, like, she shouldn't have to not go just because he doesn't want to. I think that if he doesn't enjoy it, then, he shouldn't be forced or dragged into it. Because, sometimes that does happen where one person wants to go to, a special event and they drag their significant other, and their significant other is miserable because they didn't want to go. I don't think you should drag that significant other to that special event. But you have every right to go because it's you, you know? I don't understand how you stop being a person and you stop being a person with your own interests and your own sense of self, because you're with somebody else. That doesn't seem like living to me. It doesn't. It seems like you are owned. It seems like you are no longer your own. You don't have your own sense of feelings, your own perspective on things, your own thoughts. Now, some people honestly need to be controlled by someone else because that's the type of person they are, but other people don't, and they need to have free will.
Things are entirely equivalent, and we'll talk about this more as we go along in this video, but I will say that it makes sense to question, okay, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And a man shouldn't be afraid, a person shouldn't be afraid of getting a question about why they want something. You should be confident enough as a dominant person to explain your decision making so your consensual follower can follow along with your logic for what you're doing on the most base, most charitable level. However, we are talking about him telling her what to do with her possessions and things that are hers, right? And like, let's say I had a dominant partner at home, right? And I bought some bananas for myself at the store, as I like to do, because bananas are my favorite fruit to eat or whatever, and I like bananas. I got like a whole bunch of them. They're super great. They're like that perfect level of banana doneness and ripeness. And then when I get home, I put the bananas on the counter, I go off to do some work or whatever, and I come back and my dominant has thrown the bananas in the trash can and has said, you can't eat bananas. It would be fair to ask a question like, why? Like, why can't I eat bananas? We might have negotiated to include dietary things as part of our submissive dominant relationship, but if that's a new thing he's currently adding in that we haven't talked about previously, it's fair for me to ask a question about why is that happening and go from there, right? Like, it's not being submissive. It's,
well, yeah, you should ask, because can't you at least give an explanation or like an input at least? Because to have a better understanding, if you don't have good communication in any relationship, there's a problem. So if you can't even communicate as to why, then you obviously don't have a good streamline of communication in your relationship. Continue.
just asking a question? Like, the blind obedience and submission are not the same thing, as we will discover as we go through this.
I want to find
See, that I don't
somebody
agree
who
with.
I'm expecting nothing.
Just because you're in a relationship.
Guys, stop.
That's the question.
Wait. We need one at a time.
Why would you think it's something stupid or whatever? You trust a man enough to be with him. You trust a man enough to sleep with him. So why won't you trust his opinion? Why does he have to give that? If I say to my man, like I went in, if I say to my man, don't do this, the first thing he's going to be thinking, not she's telling me what to do. There must be a reason behind it why she's telling me not to do. Because she trusts me. I did not go. I had 2 free tickets. I did not go.
I'll tell you why. Wait. Auntie, you asked me a question. I'll tell you why. Because the same way a man wants that sort of validation, a woman wants assurance. I don't want to just blindly do everything all the time, especially sometimes I'm thinking, okay, that's a
Okay, so let's talk.
That's what submission is.
So let's make it.
To be fair, I don't think anyone in this room knows what submission actually is. So, you're all, as far as I can tell, equally wrong on this front. But yeah, no, being a submissive does not mean blind obedience, especially to things you haven't talked about beforehand. In my world, in the BDSM world, we talk about things before we do them. We negotiate individual things as...
Yeah, I've heard of that several times, that that you guys talk about it beforehand. Otherwise, I don't understand how you would actually communicate actual submission. Like, if you're not communicating beforehand, that seems like that's going to be a really problematic situation. But anyway, continue.
They come up if we haven't discussed them previously. That is how this works and how a healthy dynamic is maintained, because you don't necessarily know when you might run into a landmine, right? Like, you're going to have this process, like going back to the banana example, right? Like, food control might not have been something that was discussed ahead of time. And that might actually be really triggering for somebody with a history of an eating disorder, right? Like, that might be a not very good thing to try and exert dominance over. And when you do BDSM, you're most of the time, most people are doing what's called partial power exchange, where you are submitting to negotiated, agreed upon certain areas of the relationship at certain times, but not everything everywhere. Not all submission is 24/7 total power exchange, no questions asked. My dominant gets to do whatever he wants to with me, to my property, to anything and everything in my life, with me having no recourse for even questioning what it is that he's doing. That's not how this works. Like, some people do have relationships like that, but that is built up over time, not an inherent thing you always have to do because of the gender you are and what relationship you happen to have.
Let's make a point.
That to me is really important too, not dependent on the gender, because to me, I find it so weird in these sectors that they specifically basically designate your position, whether you're dominant or submissive, whether you're male or female. Like, it's so weird too, because it's like, these are assumptions on the female sex and these are assumptions on the male sex. But at the same time, we all know that not all males and not all females even like the opposite sex. Yet you claim that they have all these stereotypes added to the fact of liking the opposite sex, which is so odd to me. If we can't even agree on what we all like as a gender, then how do you think we would all be comfortable in the same type of relationship, in the same type of dynamic based upon our gender? To me, that's just so weird. But yeah, I definitely agree with the other part of what she was saying on the whole situation with it being a communication situation where it's built up over time and it's not like, an automatic thing. Because, like I said in the beginning, if you don't have communication in any relationship, it's going to be an unhealthy relationship. And that even applies to, like, what she's saying with BDSM relationships even. Anyway, continue.
Auntie made a really important point, because the point she's making is twofold, and it's extremely important, because a lot of women talk about being submissive, but they're submissive when it suits them. That's not submission. So she wanted to go to the concert. He said no. She trusts him as a man. She didn't go. Absolute respect for that. That's exactly what my woman would have done. Exactly the same thing. Women go, I'm submissive. You're submissive when he's buying you shit in bed and you're submissive. But the second he says something you don't like, you instantly turn off the submission and run your fucking mouth. That's not submissive. That's manipulation. That's bullshit. So that's the first thing. The second thing is responsibility and authority are linked. And as a man, if I'm going to be responsible for a woman, I need a degree of authority over her. This is the reality of it. If I'm going to be responsible for paying your bills, or responsible for your personal safety, and responsible for your personal development, and responsible for fixing the light fitting, and responsible for everything that I'm supposed to do as a man, I need a degree of authority to sometimes come along and say X, Y, Z, and be obeyed.
Oh, pro-doms have entered the chat, everyone. Oh my god. Oh, I'm literally going to tear up because it's so funny to me. Like, I'm just picturing every pro-dom that I know that is a very alpha female in their logic, who has lots of men who do lots of things for her that have no authority whatsoever in her life. I know lots of pro-doms that have clients and submissives who pay for their rent, who pay off their student loans, who bought them a car, who bought them a work laptop. And that does not in any way necessitate that person having control or authority over the dominant person's life. Like, just because you bought them a laptop doesn't mean you get to spy on what they do, or just because you pay their rent doesn't mean that you get to stay in their bedroom whenever you feel like it. gift giving or providing for someone should be something that you implicitly want to do, not because it's a tit for tat, well, I did this for you, so now you owe me this. Like, that's very transactional. You should be getting your own fulfillment from giving something to another person, right? Whether it be getting them new shoes or paying their rent or whatever it is, you should be doing that because you like it, because that in and of itself is its own reward, not because it creates a leverage point in the relationship where you get to say, because I bought you new shoes, you have to have sex with me whenever I want you to. Like, this is not how this works. We're not doing a barter system where because you buy me a lamp, you get to do whatever you want to my body. Like, that's not how it works. And you definitely do not need authority over someone's life just because you provide for them. Some people like it when those things go together because it feels more congruent to them, but other people enjoy it when they give things to people and get nothing in return. And there's nothing inherent in giving a gift that says, because I gave you this, you owe me this. It's not like, no. No. And providing for someone financially is also not an inherently dominant thing or an inherently masculine thing. Caregiving and providing is something that anyone of either or all genders can do, right? And it can be a dominant thing or a submissive thing depending on your mindset, depending upon your intention. Okay? All right, we're on the same.
Yeah, and I honestly think that you have to understand the dynamic of what the types of Andrew Tates like to promote is a sense of using, like, basically a sense of, well, you have to understand, I've always said this, there is a part of it where some people feel that they are not worthy